Have you always wanted to see spirit or the things of the spiritual life? Well, on today's podcast, we're going to share a bit from our own experiences about those things and concepts that will help to open you further to understanding how your spiritual vision can work and what you're able to see and see beyond. This is Wednesdays with Willa, and I am your host, Willa White. This is my weekly podcast show that airs on Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern on my Facebook page, Willa White Medium. If you'd like more information about me, you can look at willawhite.com and also check out the Lilydale Assembly website at lilydaleassembly.org. This also goes out on the blogtalkradio.com/Lilydale radio site, which is a listen only feature. So if that's easier for you, check things out there. There are also other podcast shows that Lilydale offers throughout the week. So I encourage you to take a look at what those offerings are, as well as the Lilydale Assembly workshops that happen in the off season on Zoom and in person here at Lilydale during the summer season. That summer schedule should be hopefully up and ready for you to start registering for classes, finding guest homes to stay at, and making plans to visit in the next few months. So fingers crossed they are able to get all that together for all of us. And I'm so fortunate that I have guests on my show. Typically, we talk about a topic relating to spiritualism, mediumship, healing, faith, family, and more. And this is year 6 of my podcast show. So you've got lots of great guests and shows and episodes that you can go back and binge watch to your heart's content if you go to my Facebook page, which is Willa White Medium. And you can type in different topics and they'll be there, as well as on my YouTube channel. And today we're very blessed to have with us Bonnie White. Thanks for being here, Mom. Yes, Bonnie White is my mother. I'm very blessed to have her, not just as my parent, but also as a spiritual teacher. I've learned a lot growing up with both of my parents, and you'll probably see my dad on the show at different points as well. His name is Bill White. You can Google him if you want to as well. He's been a wonderful resource, both of them, as I've been learning about mediumship, learning about my soul, and educating all of you right along with me. And Bonnie White is a registered Lilydale medium. You've been registered for over 20 years now. And she is a professional artist in her own right, has been commissioned in the past for portraits and has been beautiful, has that beautiful eye to capture those things. And in her spirit art, you've been on the show before, we've talked about my mother's spirit art and how that happens, and she's demonstrated that as well. If you want more information about her, go to her website, which is Bonn Spirit.
Twins.
Yes, BONN Spirit, SPIRIT.com. And you'll be able to see some of her beautiful art. Some of it is in full color. A lot of the times when she's doing readings, they're in charcoal, so they're black and white. And people's loved ones, their faces and the pets come out on the page. And that happens during the reading. It's very, very special what you do. So we're going to be talking today about seeing with spirit vision and looking beyond the surface and into the deeper meaning of things that show up in our lives. Now, so many times growing up with you, she's the one who can find the 4-leaf clover and the field of grass that's there. She has that ability, that kind of, it's almost like she goes into a little kind of Zen happy place, and you're able to find that 4-leaf clover, and that magical mystical energy is very strong from my mother. And you're able to see things, be they in stones, you'll see faces, or in tree bark, or even grains of wood, or looking at the walls of a room or in someone else's art, you'll see faces that weren't necessarily placed there purposefully,
Right.
but are there nonetheless. And once you see them, it's very special to have that relationship with those faces, to have those connections. And I think that's one of the things that's helped you so much in your own spirit art, wouldn't you say?
I would say yes. I think so many people see things in their daily life. I don't know why, I just had that funny thing about the guy that used to be on TV on one of the shows, and he saw the Pope in the pizza.
Oh,
Remember that? Well, it's kind of like that. Sometimes you'll be somewhere and all of a sudden things will gel up a little bit differently than just what you're looking at. And the recombination happens. And I think it's already always there, but those recombinations happen within the person. So once we know that all vision is internal.
yes, it's all internal, truly.
Because if you close your eyes, you can't see anything outside of you. But it's with your eyes open that it comes in and comes back out, you can draw
your eyes. It's as if you see things on a spirit level.
Right. You can see things inside your eyes.
It's like when people who are blind, they can actually perceive things that are in the room, and they have placement of the objects that are in there.
Yeah.
And that's how it can sometimes be in connection with spirit. With those eyes closed, all of a sudden you have awareness that
There's
person's father is on this side of you and to the front, and the grandmother is on this side and to the back. And you start to have those dimensional qualities that energetically are shown, given to you, and that you strengthen your perceptions
And
with.
some mediums close their eyes in order to perceive.
Yes, to see better.
Yeah. So I just found this little passage in this book I started to read, and it's a book about Hawthorne, Charles W. Hawthorne, and this book was published in 1939.
And this is about painting.
This is just about painting, but it's written about an artist and some of the ways that they perceive. And I'm just looking at the introduction.
Yes.
And it says, anything under the sun is beautiful if you have the vision. It is the seeing of the thing that makes it so. So just because we see a symbol, it could be anything that you're looking at. It could be a symbol, but other things that are resonating throughout you recall and stimulate that.
Yes.
And there's so many ways that spirit works with us on an unconscious level. And Willa mentioned, if you see a painting in a museum and suddenly you will see things. If you're looking, now what could be possibly spiritual about this picture? And you look, I know I've seen that with Monet's pictures, and sometimes if you look, and there was a print hanging in a friend of mine's room, and I thought that it was a painting of her spirit guides. I mean, I said, I really like the painting of her spirit guides. And she says, Bonnie, that's a picture I had of Monet and it's hanging upside down. I said, it's like, oh my goodness. There's a real difference in the reality of what you think you're supposed to see and what you actually see. And I really believe that somehow, I just never bothered to put it right side up. I think after I left, she did. But I mean, there it was in her room. They were there looking at her. But it's such an abstract thing. Monet is a very abstract painter.
Right.
He usually paints flowers.
These impressions of things that are different.
Yeah. So that happens to me a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It does. It happens to her. And so she has a different understanding of how to look at the world and
Right.
how to see things in the world that other people may be missing. So if you've ever had that sense of, oh, I don't know why, but I see such and such, or
Yes,
I can
see something with you.
see something with you, or you could see the energy, or there's a symbol in somebody's energy that you are aware of, or as you're thinking of them, all of a sudden you spot a face that's in a
Yes.
pillow
Yeah.
across the room.
And that's not an accident.
And it's an
It
accident.
turns out to be just right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you have had that experience too. When you're on the phone, you can't see the person, but you're getting visions of their relatives.
Right. So yes, when we do
And so,
phone
yeah,
reads, that happens. And
yeah.
it's just like if you were in person or on Zoom with me,
Mhm.
with the phone read, but I'm perceiving things that
That
spirit is showing me.
other people would say aren't there.
Right, because they haven't learned how to activate those spaces in themselves. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, of how to activate those things. And I
Right.
think what I'll do is I'll probably offer the video learning package on my symbols interpretation class again, just so people can have a sense of how to do that for yourself.
So let me read the next sentence.
Yes,
The
read
world
next
is
sentence.
waiting for men and women with vision. It is not interested in mere pictures. What people subconsciously are interested in is the expression of beauty, something that helps them through the humdrum day, something that shocks them out of themselves, and something that makes them believe in the beauty and the glory of human existence.
Yes, and
And
I think we need to just savor that for a little bit. That sense that it shocks you out of that which is your mundane life, because so often we are not perceiving what is going on around us in the totality, and it's something that if we can switch ourselves into that spirit visualization mode instead of being depressed or being hurried or harried or angry or frustrated, but we go into that space of spiritual beauty that is around us, and the clues that we're given in this life.
That's right. The painter will never achieve this by merely painting pictures. The only way that he or she can appeal to humanity is in the guise of the high priest.
As in the guise of the high priest.
In a higher form of consciousness, when the painter paints, the picture contains messages.
Yeah.
It does contain messages.
And this is flows from what I did. I did a show recently called Living in Divine Excellence, and that space of knowing that you have been ordained by God in those ways, in those spiritual understandings, but also when you're calling on that divine space and recognizing that, however, even if you're painting a picture, you're also painting your world. You're manifesting your world. And what is the word? The only way that a painter, or you painting or creating or manifesting your life, can appeal to humanity is in the guise of the high priest. If you are truly in your highest form. And I did a show with Shannon Taggart a while back about Hilma af Klint, who they have realized in the last decade or so was actually the founder of modern art.
Wow.
And she was a spiritualist, and I'm just thinking of that abstract world, taking things out of the abstract and recognizing the higher form in them.
And he must show people more than they already see.
The painter must do that, the medium, and also you.
We have to show people more than they already see. And he must show them with so much human sympathy and understanding that they will recognize it as if they themselves had seen the beauty and the glory. Here is where the artist comes in.
Yes.
Yeah. And so if you, I know when I do spirit art readings in public, in front of a lot of people.
Yes.
They're just so instant. But spirit is working with me. I just draw a few seconds like this,
And
and
she closes
something
her
comes out
eyes.
for the person. I go to the person first and ask spirit to bless them with something. And it's so incredible because I don't know. I close my eyes and draw it.
And it comes out on that page. And again, she's allowing that inner vision, that spirit vision, to be what guides her in this instead of the physical vision.
Right.
She makes a connection with the person in a direct connection way and asks spirit to come through.
Yeah.
And then the messages show up on the page, that the loved ones in spirit show up on the page with their the faces
And
of them.
remark, and people go home and they see other things in them.
Yes.
But it's just a quick, so it's so quick. But it's so interesting. And another interesting thing is I do use color when I do the pastel work and the acrylic work.
Oh yeah, she is huge.
Like, big. Like, bigger. But I noticed a long time ago, and I think it's when I was reading Goethe, the idea is that when you draw with black, like a charcoal, which is what I use, charcoal, on a white surface, and you put a prism down, it divides itself into all the colors. It's like a rainbow. And so you put that down. If you had one single line and you put the prism on it, and it just glows with color. So there's color. People can perceive the color on another plane, even if it's only drawn in black on a white paper. But it doesn't work with just regular colors.
Sure.
But the black somehow has all of that in it. You think of the white having all of it in it. Maybe it's the white, but the combination is what
combination of as they intersect.
Yes. And it's so fun to see that. Because it's provable all the time.
And black and white has that form, that that idea of this is the form, these are the basics of it. And we always think of it like when moving pictures, first they were black and white.
Oh, that's true.
And then they came in with color. Here's your color vision and Panavision and all those visions things. But they came in with the layers of the colors.
Interesting.
But it had to start with that black and white. And it helps you to not always have things filled in. It's one of the reasons that in my reading room, when I'm at home in my reading room, it's a very plain cream color kind of wall, because then I can see spirit.
Yeah.
Because I don't have things bombarding me visually. I could just let spirit be the one that paints the walls.
Wow.
Right.
That reminds me, some of my first spiritual readings, I had a friend who would come over to my house, and her mother was a trumpet medium. And her father was an Episcopal lawyer. But anyway, so there's a lot of spiritual work and then very firm.
Yeah.
This is the way it is. Right. So anyway, so she said, I want you to do a reading for me. I said, I don't know to do a reading. She said, well, I'm going to sit here and you're going to see what you see. And guess what? Speaking of your walls being plain, I saw things gel up on her wall. And one of the first things I saw gel up was a man's face with a beard that kept switching back and forth between a lion and a man, and a lion and a man. And she knew exactly who it was. I'm like, you do?
Yeah.
You know? And she said, yes. When I was a little girl, there was a lion tamer that I lived next door to. And I fed him grass, the lion. I fed the lion grass through the fence. And he told me that I would make a very good
lion tamer.
Oh,
yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness. Can you imagine
You gotta have a level of fearlessness and trust.
She was so happy because she was very close to that person. And his love of lions and her love, of lions. And she was just a little kid. And I saw some other things then. One had a school bus, but can't remember the story behind that. But it's just that putting a blank wall, you might want to try this at home. Have a friend sit there and see what gels up behind it. It's just like Jello.
Sometimes it could be like jello or a hologram effect.
Like a hologram. Yeah. But it just, you look there and all of a sudden, you see that.
You can see pulsations of energy, but you can also
see their auras.
Auras occasionally.
Yeah.
Symbols that are around them, thought forms that are remaining in terms of residue. But then also spirit will come through.
Spirit.
And there's a different kind of quality of light that spirit will present with versus, let's say, angel energy.
Right. Different energies.
Old energies of thought forms are very different they have a different feeling, they have a different look. All of those will come with practice.
And so when I do it with just a plain piece of charcoal or 10 or 20 pieces, just wrote on
crumbs
on a white piece of paper, spirit seems to work with that. And then people ask me, well, how was that possible? And I said, I don't know, maybe it's because the charcoal was living once. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know what to say.
Right. Yeah.
It's spirit working through living things that,
If you, sometimes people see things in clouds.
Yeah.
Right. They'll see the forms
of, I do all the time.
Of a swan or a dragon or a face or those kinds of things. But this is a different level of that. This is a different level
when you ask for it for the person.
Yes, you're asking God, and you're asking with the highest and best good of intention, infinite intelligence, God, the divine source of all that is. Right. That is the vibration of love, and that is what is attracted in those moments. Again, like what Mom just read about the guise of the high priest. That you go into that space of, I am ordained by God. I am connecting with the divine. Only the highest and best good is channeled through me, not just in the art that might come and spirit art, but the art of your life. Yeah. The art of your words. You can channel the art of your deeds.
That's right. As a person just walking through life, praying to be a channel for the highest and best, because all of us have that spark from God. It's not an accident that we can do this, and it's just a development. We all have it, whether you know it or not.
And the other thing to think about in terms of vision is, even if you are like, well, I'm not an artist, I can only draw stick figures or something like that. That has nothing to do with where your mind and spirit can take you.
Right.
And that you are not limited by your physical abilities. These are spiritual, energetic abilities.
That's right.
That go well beyond.
That's right.
Those physical things.
Yeah. And you can read if somebody else draws the picture.
And see what you see in
workshops where I have them draw the picture, and then they bring them to me and I interpret them. And you can interpret someone else's picture. You don't have to be the one that draws it. That's really amazing, Yes. Because they're just there. It doesn't matter what they draw, but I tell them to draw a tree, a house, or whatever. And then each person draws a different picture. Yes. They're starting from within. They've got some drawing material and they draw and color in a different scene than anybody else in the room. Even there might be 18 people in there, and everybody draws a different picture.
And this is not like being assigned an art class assignment of, you must do everything this way.
No.
It goes.
I don't give them a picture to copy. They have to copy the one that's in their brain. So, or in their vision.
In their vision.
In their vision. They're copying the picture in their vision, which is really wonderful.
Yeah.
And everybody's shows up. and that shows up with spiritual messages.
So, this might be a good time to talk about, I know there's an anecdote that you were telling me about what happened in spirit art. And it was a funny one about a lady.
Oh,
And
yes, okay.
I think it'd be fun to share that with
Okay.
them in terms of seeing things, an example of something that's happened to her during a reading.
Yeah, this lady came to me, and I was doing a bigger pastel piece. It was in color, okay. And so I just started drawing, and the horse showed up, a big one, a big horse. Right, I mean, filled the page.
Mhm.
And I said, do you have any, have you had a horse, or do I always interpret it symbolically if they haven't had a horse, because it could be a pet. Some things could go either way, depending on the person doing it. So I asked, and she said, no, I've never had anything to do with the horse. I don't ever, never really wanted one, so okay. So I said, well, I closed my eyes and draw again. And I must have drawn on the hip area, which is with a rather large area on the horse. And I opened my eyes, and there was a lady there. And she said, oh, that looks like my grandma. She said, that is my grandma. That's just how she dressed. That's just how she looked. And I can't recall whether it was her hair or her clothes or what, but it was her. And I said, well, what did she have to do with the horse? She said, nothing. And then all of a sudden she got the aha moment. She said, yes, the only thing she ever wanted to do was go to the horse races and bet on the horses. And so she said, every time she wanted to go to the horse races, she had to call me, because I think the girl was like 12 or something, and she could speak very well English, but her grandmother couldn't. So she needed her to get from place to place, to go on the bus, and however it was, to go up to a horse track. Okay. And so every time and then I drew another thing. I said, well, maybe there's more to this. And I drew another thing, and there was a cupcake. I'm like, what does a horse and a cupcake have to do with her grandmother? And she said, every time I went to pick up my grandmother, the only time she ever wanted to see me was when she wanted to go to horse races. And so she would have a tray of cupcakes for me. And she was delighted, because that meant that she could, have some cupcakes, have a treat. And so she said, but you can only have one, and you have to pick which one you want. And they were all different. And so she took a little while, and her grandmother was there waiting for her to find out which one she picked. And then finally she picked one. And then her grandmother's happy. We can go now. Well, it turns out there was something about the cupcakes that told her grandmother what to bet on, which is really wild. So, and she said she never found out why that was, but I put that part together. But
Yes, the cupcakes. She never understood what cupcake represented what. That was that to the grandmother.
No.
And that was probably deliberate on the grandmother's
Yeah,
part.
grandmother didn't want to tell her.
People know, they start to, let their own minds get away.
So
she wanted the innocence.
She said, my grandmother never lost. She lost her money. She only had a certain amount of money, and sometimes she got a lot of money, but she never lost money at the races.
Because she had the cupcake queen decide for her.
But it came through in the spiritual reading. So I can't remember.
Don't try this at home, folks. We're not recommending that you get a tray of uniquely done cupcakes.
No,
you can.
I was just enthralled that spirit would bring that through. Yeah. But I can't remember I can't remember who else did come through.
There were other things, but that was like the
one. I can't remember.
That was the icing.
That was the icing of the cupcake. It was great. I loved it.
It's a
It was
great
like,
one.
but things are so magical sometimes. You don't know what's coming. You just don't know.
Right. And again, remember, isn't it interesting how my mom had to deal with the no of that? No, I don't think about the
No,
horse.
no,
I
I
don't.
can't.
I don't place
I don't
that.
play horses. I
But
don't
then
care about.
once you get the grandmother, once you get the cupcake together, it all is.
And so I did. I asked the girl. I said, "Did she ever give you any money from winnings?" And she said, "No, just cupcakes."
Cupcakes is payment.
I thought that was funny,
It is.
but it shows you how far spirit can go. Spirit can go.
Yeah, and for you to go, wow, that's a cupcake.
Yeah.
Wow,
No, it was a cupcake. I mean,
yeah, wow, that's a cupcake. And then the person's like, that's why you're getting a cupcake because of this.
yeah.
It's not something that you could ever have. It's not something that the client was thinking about. She wasn't thinking about the
No,
cupcakes.
she wasn't thinking about horses.
She wasn't thinking about horses. She wasn't. It's not like a mind reading thing. This is something that came from
Right.
spirit.
Yeah.
Because this is a communication of love.
And it probably was the grandpa or something, but I can't remember that part of it, because I just focused on how weird that was.
It is very weird that would happen, but it's a good weird.
That happens so much.
Yeah.
It's just a surprise. It's a surprise to find out because I don't know, and I have to ask them.
Right, because a lot of these things don't have meaning to us personally, because that is not how that works. Now, if somebody had come with the purpose of my grandma needs to come through and she needs
she
to
wants
give
to-
the symbol of a cupcake and a horse, I could probably guarantee you that wouldn't happen.
No,
It would not
It
have
wouldn't.
organically
No.
unfolded.
I couldn't draw a
It's-
horse and a cupcake and
These
come up with
kinds
it.
of things have to kind of come on an
Yeah.
unexpected level.
Yeah.
It can't be, and that's our code, Grandma. It doesn't work as well
And
that way.
furthermore, if I had known she was going to do it to bet, I would say, no, I don't do that. People ask me for the lottery numbers all the time, and I said, I don't do that. I mean, I would be very rich if I knew how to do that, but I don't do that.
Right,
And I wouldn't
we don't
really
work on that.
I don't work on that.
So just to
So I
kind
don't
of
want to think I can
reinforce
tell.
for yourself when you're having readings how this all
Mhm.
works, that it has to kind of organically unfold, and you may get a no about something, but then as it unfolds, you're like, yes, that's how that all gets put together. Now, most people would never have a connection with the grandmother, with horses and cupcakes and betting on horses
No.
in that way. It's completely unique
No.
to
Yeah.
that individual.
Yeah.
And so this, in terms of that's an example of how it can happen in a reading.
Yeah.
It can also happen for you in your own life as you're seeing the images that
Mhm.
are around you.
Yeah.
Either in nature or in your home or work
That's
environment, or
That's true.
or if you're driving the car, or however that unfolds, you may notice that those symbols come in alignment, and you're just like, wow,
Yes.
that is not a coincidence. That
Mhm.
is a synchronicity. That is a message from my
It might
spirit
be a
loved
si-
ones.
might
And
be a
sometimes you know
sign.
it's your soul, sometimes you know it's from
Mhm.
your angels. You'll get a
Right.
sense of which one it's from,
Yeah.
especially with how the communication is given.
That's
And you'll
right.
start to learn to trust that. It does take practice, it does take time, it takes you building trust within
Mhm.
yourself about how spirit works with
That's right.
you in your vision, and how you assimilate information and see beyond the so-called superficial.
Right.
What are some other thoughts? I know
Mhm.
time's going so fast, we need to close soon, but if there are any final thoughts that you had about this? Because it's
That's
such
such
a great topic for people
Yeah.
to have that perception of
It
seeing
happens.
beauty and seeing things that are around us in a different way.
Right. I'm trying to think of some more things.
Oh, I'll throw this in at you. So one of my children was asking about IQ tests, and an IQ test, you have to figure out the patterns of different things and the dots and where they are on shapes and all of that sort of thing. This is not an IQ test. This is not us trying to say you're going to be part of a spirit IQ test, that if you get the right sequence of this, then your spiritual quotient is high. I'm just trying to give it to you. If you don't see the world that way, that's okay. You may eventually see the world in this particular way. It may not be a primary way that you receive information from spirit, but it can be a way for you. For others, this is going to be your bread and butter of how you connect with spirit and how you receive messages. And it's a very fun, exciting way.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
All of a sudden came to mind.
Okay.
I don't know if I ever told you this, but I taught a class once about finding out about yourself by just scribbling your form. You know, start with the head, do whatever you want, do it. And I said, just draw yourself. And it's just like if you drew a picture, you draw yourself, right? So there was one person there that just sat staring with his materials. I said, what's the matter? She said, I can't draw. I said, well,
Perceived limitation.
start scribbling.
I want to scribble, folks.
Yeah. And just kind of, well, things about the body, right?
Yeah.
And he says, I'm a doctor.
It's almost like when you know too much.
Yeah, you know too much. So I said, well, just start drawing your head. But the thing about it is I had told the class to draw themselves upside down.
Oh, again with the upside down pictures, there might be something to
Yeah,
that.
because upside down, you can't be so picky.
Yeah, because you're gonna get it wrong.
You're gonna get it wrong.
You have to
Don't
accept
worry, we're not talking about that here.
Right.
We're talking about you just going ahead and from within yourself, just pick up any color you want and just start drawing from the head, or you can start at the feet and go down, start at the hands, go in. I don't care. Just draw it, right?
Mhm.
And then we're going to read those.
That's right. And one hand might be bigger than the other.
Yes.
All kinds of stuff.
Yes. And then you have more chances to be.
It may look like a little kid did it. Great.
Yes, exactly. Little kids have great art. But anyway, so he finally got into it. And he was over there working away because I told him to do it upside down. And I had told the whole class, but he wasn't thinking about that until I reminded him. So anyway, so we did it. And everybody came up with incredible drawings. When they turned it right side up, they could interpret their own drawings.
Yeah.
Because they could see where it was different from one side to the other, from all, we talked about the interpretations of the different sides of things and certain areas of the body and what you use those areas for and how they might have meaning and how it might indicate something about you or what you're working on or what you need to improve, like, if one side's weak,
Yes.
Anyway, so there was a marvelous class, but I had to tell you about the one who was a doctor who obviously knew about the body. I couldn't draw it, couldn't even begin. But then when he started, no problem.
And he got a lot out of that class.
He did. He loved it. So it was so interesting. I love stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That when you can overcome the barriers.
Yeah.
People have a lot of barriers about art. They say they can't draw a straight line. I said, I've never drawn a straight line in art unless I had a ruler.
That's right.
It is true. It's just the way it is.
Well, you're taught to color within the line.
Yes, but you don't need lines in order to color.
You don't need lines for all of that, especially because layers of the aura are not always so pristine in terms of that. There are certain layers that like to blur. There's certain things that like to explode into other things, and it's just the nature of energy.
Guess what? These pictures in back of us, I can see them there we go. These pictures in back of us have faces in them. Mm-hmm. I just noticed one up. Well, I can't point to it, can I?
You could try.
It's up there. So if
that's
too high.
It's too high above them.
It's somewhere in there. Let's see. No, is it the right one? I don't know, because you're only seeing the lower half. Okay. So it'd be here. Okay. So anyway.
You see, okay.
In the reflection of it.
Yes.
In the picture of it. I see a face. See?
Well, you point that on the screen and I can try to help.
Yeah.
Is this it right here?
Yeah, it's right in there. But that's okay. Yeah. I just want to say if you're looking at pictures, you'll be able to see things.
Yeah.
Just like I just saw it, and probably you can. And maybe if you look at the others, you'll see some too. But that's just the artist just got,
Yes.
it wasn't a controlled, precise thing.
Right.
It was just, let me put this on. And then all of a sudden
that.
you'll see things like you can see other things, faces and these things,
Yeah.
so
the sea foam.
yeah. So don't be afraid.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to look at things from a different angle.
Right.
So that's the other thing with my mother's art. You rotate it and you'll see different things as you rotate it.
That's true.
It's just the nature of how spirit art works,
Right.
and how spirit vision works. And I think that's the big message for all of you today. The big takeaway in terms of your perception of spirit and of soul and of spiritual life that's all around you.
It is all around us.
Yeah, you may see things in a mud puddle.
Yep.
A mud puddle. A footprint. Like something that's just happens to be there.
And all of a sudden it has meaning. And it has meaning because you have associations. You know what a human face is. One of the first faces you see is your mama's face,
Right.
Yeah. And so you see, we're looking at faces. We want to see them, and we want to see them looking back at us.
Right.
That's part of being human, actually.
It is part of being human, and finding the human things around us, the connections around us, and there's nothing wrong with finding those things.
That's right.
And it's the interpretation of how can this be part of my higher good, and making sure that prayerful space is what is helping you to perceive your world, not the anger or the fear or the worry, those kinds of belief
and you
images.
Approach it with love.
Approach it with love, and from that place of the high priest or priestess that is within
That's
you.
Right.
That place that is the divine connection, the godly way. The godly way.
That's right. And it's, if you approach things not just with the mind, but with the vibration of communication and love, it's not going to be, okay, I'm making a cage for you.
And here's
if
your
you're
box.
not like this, I don't like you.
That's right.
Oh, it's like, I see why you're there. And you see why people have wonderful presences around them.
Right.
Everybody has wonderful presence.
So over the years, you've been watching with Willa, and you've seen my mother, Bonnie White, here as a guest with me. You've probably noticed that she's very non-judgmental, but highly discerning. There's a difference between judgment and discernment. And so we're encouraging you to move into a space of discernment of your world, what's around you, see it from a different vantage point. Did you have one more thing you wanted to share before we close for the day?
Listen to this. A great composer could find inspiration for a symphony in a subject as simple as the tinkle of water in a dishpan. We can all hear the symphony if we're washing dishes.
Yeah.
Okay. So can we find beauty in ordinary places and objects
and subjects.
The untrained eye does not see beauty in all things. It's our profession to train ourselves to see it and transmit it to the less fortunate. And that's also what mediums are trained to do. So,
perfect. Oh, that was lovely. That was great. Thank you, Mom, for being.
I'm going to read the rest of the book.
She'll read the rest of the book. She collects these painter books and is constantly finding a lot of spiritual nuggets.
Not that he even knew he was doing spirit, even though he wrote that.
Yes, but you have to know how to read into things a little bit more on a deeper level. And it's very possible that he did have that understanding, because nobody would frame those words the way
I
they
know.
do unless they saw
That's true.
that there was a majesty to this world, a divine majesty, a divine
A
excellence that is there,
miraculousness.
a miraculousness that is available to us all, and that we should bring that beauty, that love of beauty and love of light to all that we do.
Right. And pretty soon everybody will be able to see it.
Yes, pretty soon. Thank you for being my mother and being the wonderful artist that you are and the medium that you are to help other people see their loved ones in spirit, to see their souls, and to acknowledge that higher power.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you,
And
Mama.
thank you all for joining.
All right, everyone. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you next week for Wednesdays with Willa. God bless. Bye-bye.